I'm deeply disturbed and disgusted about how the MK party has gone on a poaching campaign and an attack on the economic freedom fighters to undermine and to try and destroy the EFF. And we understand and we agree with the statement that our commander-in-chief made, that the MK party, through its conduct, through the way that it is trying to destroy the economic freedom fighters, has become enemy number one for the economic freedom fighters. Gayton McKinzie gets up, and instead of just making a general speech of goodwill, he decides to put the knife in. And he mocks the economic freedom fighters and says, MK Party I want to congratulate MK Party because MK Party is the killers of the EFF.
The EFF? Umphathi wamabhandi into uyayithanda i-GNU kodwa mina into endicinga uba uyithanda kakhulu yinto yokokubana eza blue lights zimkhumbuza i-criminal past yakhe. And bendizamcebisa uba upartner yakhe yapha kwi-GNU uBas John amncedise khe arejiste phaya eUnisa siyavuyisana nayo uba enayo imetric.
So to all of you, you killed the EFF. You must admit that. Thank you very much. Muni Baizani.
And I wanted to get this off my chest. Because you know what I said to myself, the next time a member of the MK party just in a social environment comes to say, hey, can I sit here at the table with you? I'm going to ask a person not to sit down. I'm disgusted with the conduct of the members of the MK party. We managed to get 35% there. I'm not even going to go to what the MK party eventually registered. It was negligible. I still want to hear the president of the MK party, Jacob Zuma, speaking in solidarity with the people of Palestine. I still want to see him wearing the Palestinian scarf. Tonight, we are going to have a discussion as part of our National People's Assembly discussions on the issue of education. One of the very pertinent discussion documents that the economic freedom fighters has made public and placed on social media is the discussion document for the National People's Assembly, which is going to take place from the 12th when the registration takes place, and then the assembly takes place on the 13th, the 14th, and is concluded on the 15th at Nasrec. This is truly a seminal event for the economic freedom fighters, but I believe also for South Africa. South Africa needs to have clear ideological policies, sound positions that needs to be taken with regards to the issues of education, with regards to the issues of state power and the restructuring of the state, as we discussed during our last X-Space. Tonight, I've invited a couple of members of parliament of the economic freedom fighters, among them Muzwi Bloze, and I hope that Sikulise Gikilishe may also be able to join us, although I know she has been traveling, because she had written a very, very good article summarizing what the policy positions are and the need for fundamental change in our education system in IOL about 2 weeks ago. I've also asked Apostle Dr. Deza to come in as my co-host for tonight's discussion. We will have only 2 hours to have this discussion because I'm at the moment in East London. I'm here, I've traveled here in order to be here for the court case where the Commander-in-Chief and President of the Economic Freedom Fighters, President Julius Malema, is appearing tomorrow. And I've been invited by the regional leadership of the EFF later tonight for a meeting. So we will keep our discussion tonight to 2 hours in order to be able for me to accommodate also that engagement with the leadership of the EFF here in East London. Before we continue with this discussion, I wanted to say something about the very, very disturbing development that we have seen with what happened with Janusz Waluś when he had now been, after he had been given a parole and he served his parole, have been allowed to be deported to Poland. I'm deeply concerned about this development because it is evident that not all the information about who were involved in the killing of Chris Hani had come to the fore. And it is evident that Janusz Waluś, who is the remaining person alive after Clive Derby Lewis passed on, died, that Waluś is now leaving the country, has left the country and is already in Poland with that information. As the Economic Freedom Fighters media statement said, this is a deeply disturbing and painful situation because it means that we may never be able to get to the bottom of all of those who are responsible for the decision and the planning to kill Comrade Chris Hani. We have dedicated spaces on this X space to the person of Comrade Chris Hani and also to with leadership of the African National Congress who are being protected. And it is evident with the way in which this parole and now also the deportation of Waluś has been managed, the speed with which he is now allowed to be deported after the 2 years of parole has expired. I really want to see him in the country as quickly as possible. But there's also other things that are quite disturbing. And that is that we have politicians in this country who keep on saying we know what was going on. We are about to talk. One of the politicians is Jacob Zuma. But when the time comes to talk, they don't. So one has to ask yourself, is this just a political game that is being played? Or is there information known to these persons which is being covered up? Because if there is a cover-up, if there's knowledge about who were responsible for the killing of Comrade Chris Hani, of the assassination of Comrade Chris Hani, and that information is not made public, that people talk because they like to sound as if they are fully aware, or they talk because they want to cover up what they may know and what even may be their own involvement, then they are complicit. And such complicity of knowledge and not revealing that knowledge in our legal system is a crime. It has should really come to an end now. I was yesterday phoned by a journalist of the Sunday Times and asked, what do you say about this? I said, they must talk. And if they're not prepared to talk and they know what has happened, they are complicit. And I said, if Jacob Zuma knows what has happened, as he has hinted many times, and he's not talking, then he is complicit. That is the truth. That is the reality. We don't need to beat around the bush about it. But interestingly enough, today, in the Sunday Times, we get on the front page a photo of Janusz Waluś, but we don't get the story. We don't get the interview that I had with that journalist. Because for those who are the powers that be in this country, who want to protect themselves, who cover up, the Sunday Times does not want to expose them. And therefore, the Sunday Times doesn't reflect the content of the interview that I gave yesterday when that journalist phoned me. I thought I should say this. I also want to say something else, because this was a very disturbing experience for me last Thursday. You know, one tries sometimes still to be decent. One tries to be a human being. I'm deeply disturbed by what the MK party has done. I'm deeply disturbed and disgusted about how the MK party has gone on a poaching campaign and an attack on the economic freedom fighters to undermine and to try and destroy the EFF. I'm on record as having said that. But on Thursday afternoon, and Moswe Blose will be able to confirm this because he sat at the same table in the National Council of Provinces restaurant. We were there, a number of economic freedom fighters having lunch. The restaurant was full because the other restaurants were not open. So in came Brian Molefe of the MK party. He walked past, there were not other tables and chairs available, and he said, "Can I sit here with you?" And those of us who sat there, also fighter Virgil Gericke, a member of the EFF, said, "Well, yes, sit down, you're welcome." It's humane. Although we are deeply hurt by the conduct of the MK party, and we understand and we agree with the statement that our commander-in-chief made, that the MK party, through its conduct, through the way that it is trying to destroy the economic freedom fighters, has become enemy number one for the economic freedom fighters. But in humanity, we said to Brian, sit. That's fine. He sat for a while. It wasn't a particularly comfortable environment, and eventually we all went our different ways. But then that same afternoon, in the National Assembly, when the final goodbye speeches of all the various political parties are held, as they are always done in Parliament at the last session, when the old year comes to an end, Gayton McKinzie gets up. And instead of just making a general speech of goodwill, he decides to put the knife in. And he mocks the economic freedom fighters and says, MK Party I want to congratulate MK Party because MK Party is the killers of the EFF.
Let us continue to build the GNU. These ones call me a prisoner, a criminal. The Secretary General has been convicted by a court of law. The president is in front of a court of law. The real leaders is now here by MK. These people are divorced. They took each other's wives and husbands. We are still together. We are intact. The GNU forever. Happy Christmas. Let us continue to serve the people. And I want to warn the PA. I want to warn the DA. I want to warn the ANC. be very soft on EFF. You can't be so hard on a dying man and a dying woman. Please have mercy on them. Please have mercy on them. These people they are dead. Yeah, they kill us. These people killed them. Slowly with a smile. They said we are not going to last. Look, we are all together with John Steenhuisen, Gwede Mantashe. We are working together. We are cruising very nicely. So to all of you, you killed the EFF. You must admit that. Thank you very much. Muni Baizani. It is the new year, and listen to me. When I told you Abahambe, this illegal foreigners, and now you see what they're doing. So next time when I warn you, please listen to me. These are the killers of EFF. Thank you very much.
Order. Honorable vessels. Order, honorable members.
Umphathi wamabhandi into uyayithanda iGNU kodwa mina into endicinga uba uyithanda kakhulu into yokokubana eza blue lights zimkhumbuza umphathi wamabhandi into uyayithanda iGNU kodwa mina into endicinga uba uyithanda kakhulu into yokokubana eza blue lights zimkhumbuza i-criminal past yakhe. And bendizamcebisa uba upartner yakhe yapha kwiGNU uBas John amncedise khe aregister phaya eUNISA siyavuyisana naye uba enayo imetric. House Chairperson, the EFF strongly condemns President Cyril Ramaphosa for surrendering to
Honourable
white
member,
supremacy.
please take your seat. There's a point of order, Honourable Michalakis.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, the member from the EFF again referred to the Minister of Agriculture as Bas John. It is now a serial offence from the EFF members. I have on several occasions risen on Rule 69, and I would like your ruling in this regard, please.
I don't expect much better from Gayton McKinzie. He's a thug, he's a bandit. But what disturbed me is the way in which the members of the MK party then cheered this thug Gayton McKinzie when he said that. Go and watch the recording of that last session of this 2024 year of the National Assembly and see how MK party members cheer Gayton McKinzie when he says, I want to congratulate MK party for being the killers of the EFF. This is painful. This is unacceptable. And this is what poisons the well to the deepest extent. And I wanted to get this off my chest. Because you know what I said to myself, the next time a member of the MK party just in a social environment comes to say, hey, can I sit here at the table with you? I'm going to ask a person not to sit down. Because this is too much. There's no goodwill. There's no preparedness to work for unity. There's only selfishness. There's only personalized attacks. I myself have been attacked in the most disgusting, personalized way by MK party members simply because they cannot accept the fact that I've taken a principled, well thought through, clear ideological decision to join the economic freedom fighters and that I've got no intention to ever join the MK party. The arrogance of those attacks, the lack of respect for my decision has stuck in my throat. And I thought tonight, especially after that experience on Thursday afternoon, especially after I felt we showed humanity, and then that is the way we once again get slapped in the face. It needs to be dealt with. So anyhow, I got it off my chest. But I want everyone in this space to understand that the attacks that has been launched on the EFF has led to a position where the EFF can have no other understanding of what the Umkhonto we Sizwe party, and I always emphasize Umkhonto we Sizwe party. I never just say MK, because Umkhonto we Sizwe party is not MK. And those who try to collapse the two into one is creating a historical fallacy and a lie. MK was formed on the 16th of December 1961, the Liberation Army of the People. MK Party was formed on the 16th of December 2023. It's a political party trying to exploit and ride on the back of what Umkhonto we Sizwe stood for, what Umkhonto we Sizwe, the People's Liberation Army, was, and what it represents in the history of this country. This nonsense must come to an end. And as I've said, if there's anyone who knows what has happened with the assassination of Comrade Chris Hani, those, including also Jacob Zuma, who keeps on hinting and making allusions that they know, they must talk or they must keep quiet. But if they keep quiet and they know, they too are complicit. This must be said in no uncertain terms. I know that after this will be attacked again viciously. I don't care. I've stood always for the truth. I've stood always for the principles and ideas and ideology that I have committed myself to. When I joined Umkhonto we Sizwe, the People's Liberation Army, in June 1979, that was this year 65 years ago. I've never changed. I've never changed my belief that one fights for those who are oppressed. I've never changed my views that when people are treated wrongly, they're being discriminated against, they are being persecuted, that one stands with them. Those of you who know my history also know how I stood with that same understanding with Jacob Zuma. But I've never been a sycophant. I've never simply just accepted everything that Jacob Zuma or anyone else does. I am my own person. I make my own decisions. And when I believe something is wrong, I say so. I believed that the formation of MK Party was wrong. I feared that it will end up where it has ended up today. I'm disgusted with the conduct of the members of the MK Party. I'm disgusted with the lack of integrity with which they have attacked and tried to destroy the only truly revolutionary party, the only party with a real fundamental, foundational ideology for full economic freedom in our lifetime, the economic freedom fighters. And I've said so from the moment that party was formed. I've not changed my mind. I've not changed my views one iota. In fact, the reality is that my views have become stronger. I've become more upset about their conduct because this is a conduct not of a revolutionary party. It is a conduct of a reactionary party. a party that wants to destroy the economic freedom fighters. But thank you. Let me leave it there. I've said what I feel. I've shared with you how I feel about what happened last Thursday in the National Assembly. It was disgusting. Disgusting for MK party members to cheer a thug and a bandit such as Gayton McKinzie for saying that they are the killers of the EFF. But let it be clear, and that is why we have this discussion tonight. The economic freedom fighters is strong, well-grounded, and built on clear ideology. It is the only revolutionary, liberatory movement in this country with a clear ideological foundation and base. And the various discussion documents for the National People's Assembly that we are discussing as part of a series of these X-Spaces explains exactly that. The fact that the EFF is not an opportunistic party, but that it is built on a clear ideological base, has always been its greatest strength. Because it is because of the death to ideology that the African National Congress imploded on itself and the ANC became the sellout, erstwhile National Liberation Movement. It is exactly because of documents such as this education document that we are going to discuss tonight, and also the others that we've discussed before, and the documents that we will discuss coming Wednesday in the next X-Space, until the National People's Assembly proceeds with registration on the 12th and then goes forward with the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th. The EFF is no pushover. And I quote very deliberately the President and the Commander-in-Chief of the Economic Freedom Fighters, President Julius Malema. The EFF is no pushover. You know, it was interesting how the media were looking at what was going to happen in Thabazimbi. They were waiting for the by-elections in Thabazimbi to come and for the EFF to lose support. We worked. We buckled down. We didn't make it a big media event. We worked day and night, quietly burrowing away for weeks. Senior leadership of the economic freedom fighters, whenever they could break away from the work in Parliament, traveling all the way to Thabazimbi, working with the ground forces of the EFF in Limpopo, in the Waterberg, and in Thabazimbi. And we succeeded. We managed to grow the support base of the EFF. We managed to get 35% there. I'm not even going to go to what the MK party eventually registered. It was negligible. We managed to hold not only our own, but increase. And what happened? The media is dead quiet. Can you tell me, you as participants in this X-Space, where have you seen a big headline about how well the EFF had done in Thabazimbi? Where have you seen an analysis of how the EFF has held its ground and grown, despite all the challenges that had been thrown at us? No. The media is Choop still, as we say in Afrikaans. Dead quiet. But my dear participants, if it was different, if we did go down in our support in Thaba Zimbi, if we failed to hold our own and grow, it would have been the headlines for a week. Because that is how we know the white monopoly capitalist owned, controlled, and manipulated media in this country. They have declared the fighters the major. Zille said so even before the elections on the 29th of May. The economic freedom fighters are our main opponents. They are our main enemy. We're holding our own. And we will come out of this National People's Assembly strong and united, with a National People's Assembly showing that the crux, the core, the essence, the backbone of the economic freedom fighters has sustained itself. That we have shed the betrayers and we are moving forward with direction, with true commitment, and with a strong ideological base. From here on, we will move on from strength to strength. We are no pushovers. And now, let us return to the topic for today. But before we do so, and before I introduce my guests for this evening's discussion, let us also do something where the economic freedom fighters stand out as that one political party, that one revolutionary movement in South Africa that is uncompromising in our support for the struggle of the people of Palestine. In this space for months now, every time we hold a space, we maintain a moment of silence for the people of Palestine. We maintain that moment of silence in acknowledgement of the struggle of the Palestinians and in disgust for the genocide that is being committed by apartheid Israel. But because we are ideologically clear, we do not stop there. We also always talk about the genocides in Sudan and in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. We recall the suffering and the economic exploitation of our beloved African continent and exploited and oppressed people all over throughout the world. We also always recall the suffering of our people here in our beloved South Africa, the consequences of crime and violence which is embedded also in the reality of economic inequality in the most unequal society in the world. There is no party that speaks with such clarity and with such a depth ideological understanding and analysis about these issues, such as the economic freedom fighters. I still want to hear what exactly is the policy of the MK party about Palestine. I still want to hear the president of the MK party, Jacob Zuma, speaking in solidarity with the people of Palestine. I still want to see him wearing the Palestinian scarf. The economic freedom fighters stands unequivocal, without any holding back, in our understanding of the struggle of the people of Palestine over all the decades, in our appreciation that Palestine shall be free from the river to the sea. Let us maintain that moment of silence, and afterwards we then return to our discussion on education, which is one of the most critical topics that we possibly can discuss. Let's maintain that moment of silence. Thank you. May the blood of those who suffered so much in Palestine and the suffering of the people throughout our beloved African continent and throughout the world, the blood of the oppressed and the suffering of the oppressed, nurture the tree of freedom. And may all of us continue to commit ourselves unequivocally so for the full liberation of all the oppressed in the world. We're now going to proceed with the discussion about the education document, the discussion document, People's Assembly, that deals with an analysis of the educational landscape in South Africa, which is a landscape of devastation, hurt, and suffering. A majority of poor, majority of whom are Black and especially African young people, who, in terms of the class position in which they find themselves, in terms of the exploitation and the oppression where the majority of Black and especially African people come from out of the apartheid system, continue to see that education system reflecting those harsh realities.